You'll all have to. Perfect. So welcome to the Monday morning mantra call, our Monday mantra call. It's this beautiful opportunity to come together as community, to be part of something where we are working on self-love as a collective and learning some daily practices that can help us to really be living the life we want and deserve. If you're new, I'm Carla Smith. I'm a personal transformation coach, and I love self-love. I just think it is the most powerful thing that we can do for ourselves. And so that's what we do here every week. Penny is going to wave. Hi, Penny. So Penny's here to help you if you have any questions around like anything that's a technical question she can answer. And also if you would like to ask a question, but want her to ask it, you can absolutely send a question to her as well, and she'll answer that. I check the chat at the end, so you can also put stuff in there for me. You can send that to me privately or in the group chat. I always check at the end, but I can't do two things at once. So I decided not to do that. And then we have the reaction button on the bottom right hand side there. You're welcome to respond to other people by sending an emoji, or if you love something, show that. And then if you want to speak, if you can just raise your hand, and then you'll come to the top of my screen so that I know that you want to share what it is that your insights or questions. Okay, let's get started. So today we're talking about negative thoughts and how to transform those into positive thoughts. And so our mantra for this week is, I am committed to releasing negative thoughts about myself. I am committed to releasing negative thoughts about myself. Oh, I love this so much. It's such an important part of our journey as we move into a more loving, positive, optimistic way of living. Is this part where we decide that it's time to move away from negativity, right, around ourselves, that it's enough now. That was my big phrase that I always said. So negative thoughts are a natural part of life. We know that. Sometimes difficult things happen and unhelpful thoughts can occur from time to time. And that's really normal. But when negative thoughts and beliefs about ourselves become our consistent default thought patterns, it can lead us to feeling anxious, depressed, have a lot of stress, and obviously low self-esteem. Negative thinking can become habitual. And many of you, we've talked about that on this call a lot of times. It's like it's creating this neural pathway that makes you see the world from this lens of pessimism, self-doubt, hostility, cynicism. You overgeneralize, maybe blaming yourself, and then maybe jumping to conclusions. And so we're going to talk about ways that we can shift that. But we're going to start with a question, as we always do. And so I'd love for any of you who are ready to answer. Here's the question. What are some of the common effects you experience when negative beliefs, thoughts, and emotions are present? And how do these effects impact your actions? What are some of the common effects you experience when those negative inner critic comments are in your space, in your, like, taking up real estate in your head? Is there anyone who's, you all know what it feels like for sure. Yeah. Anyone? I know you're shy this time. It's all good. Thank you, Anna. Go ahead. It's great to see you.
Great to see everybody. Good morning. So in my case, I think anxiety is the biggest issue that I have. So I start to feel that there are no way to solve a problem. Like I start to overthink so much that maybe it's a small problem, but for me it would be like very huge. So the anxiety comes very strong.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. It's so true. And, you know, we talk about this idea that we have something that's really small, and then we build a story around that, and then another story around that. And by the time we're finished in our ruminating, the story is so big, it feels unsurmountable. And then it feels, like you said, impossible to solve. And we just get so caught in not knowing what to do about that giant thing. We forget that it started off in this little place. Thank you so much. Anyone else? What else are the effects, or what do you experience when negative beliefs, thoughts, and emotions are present for you? Lethargy. Thanks, Nia. Yeah. Larissa, go ahead.
I definitely feel like tired and unmotivated. Yeah, just less energy to do even the things that I normally enjoy doing.
Exactly. It's so true. And also, Nia shared that too, lethargy is a similar feeling. It's just like we just feel like everything has been dampened, right, by these negative thoughts. And so we don't have the energy to do anything else except be in this thinking, right? And so then it stops us from doing anything that helps us move forward. I appreciate that. Thanks, Larissa. Go ahead. Hi, Maria.
I definitely notice that I feel like I'm less motivated, and I become almost like a hermit. And like when you feel so overwhelmed, you don't even want to leave the house almost. So I definitely turn into a bit of a hermit and ruminate in my overwhelm.
Thank you so much. And I love that piece around isolation. It's like what we do. We go into like this cocoon, right? Where we think like we're the only person who's going through this. We're the only person who feels like this in the world. Like we just forget our common humanity, that everyone is imperfect, that everyone is sharing experiences of uncertainty or instability or insecurity. And we get really caught in it just being our life, right? And so, like you said, we ruminate in order to, it's like our brains just want to keep the story alive, you know? And so it just keeps saying it over and over and over and over. And of course, that changes how motivated we can be to take steps and do things that feel outside of comfort or outside of what we know for sure, right? So I appreciate all of you sharing that, your insights around what it feels like when those negative thoughts are present. And so, of course, we're going to talk about some practices that will help you to commit to developing a positive mindset. And positive mindset is a process, right? It's not like you just go from one day to the next and then you're like, okay, all my negative thoughts are gone. This is the work. And I feel like it's the work that I've committed myself to doing for me, as well as for my clients and on these calls and everywhere that I can be. It's the work of constantly cleaning up what it is that is old programming, right? So much of our negative thoughts, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, come from old programming, our default settings, really, right? And so as we clear that for ourselves, we're going to, it's like as if we open up, it's like the clouds clear for us, right? It's kind of feels gloomy in our brains. And then as we clear away some of that, we're making space for brightness, lightness, and that then becomes this momentum that changes. We can be spiraling in this direction, and we can halt to that and then start spiraling in the other direction. And it takes time for us to be like whirling at this really high level, but it's possible. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is notice our negativity, right? You've got to notice it in order for you to make a change. Self-awareness is the key to being able to make any positive changes we want to make in our lives. If we are unaware of something, it's impossible for us to shift it, right? I've talked about this idea that we have something, this is sort of like the medical, or this is how sort of the coaching piece is, that we have these unconscious incompetences. So these things that feel really negative in our life that are unconscious to us. So we're completely unaware of them and we're just acting. This is the default thinking piece. And then this noticing piece is becoming conscious of those things. When we can become conscious of those things, then of course we can become conscious of practicing something different. But until we're aware, we can't shift, right? And then once we become conscious in our practice, conscious competence, then we can move in, that becomes our new default, unconscious competence, right? So it's this moving along that helps us to actually shift from one, negative way of operating to a more positive mindset. We must first be able to identify what unconscious behavior is not serving us before we can begin to insert new ways of operating. So can you start to recognize slowly but surely, what are you saying to yourself, right? What are the things that are going on in your brain? What are the things where's the place you always put yourself down? And I know it feels icky. This is the icky work, right? It's not always just doing the things that make you feel good, that are going to make change. We have to also do some of the digging, right? What are the things that I'm always like perpetually saying about me, right? So with reflection tools like journaling or working with a coach, we start to acknowledge the very specific things we're saying to ourselves and the frequency with which we're saying them. So we can say to ourselves, you know what, I'm negative 90% of the time, and I'm saying I'm not good enough, and I don't believe that I have what it takes, and right? So we want to be really specific and clear about what we're saying and how much we're saying it, and that's going to really change our opportunity to make change. So then once you've noticed, number 2 is to reframe those thoughts and beliefs. Right? So now that you know what your inner critic is saying all the time, right? It's time to neutralize those thoughts. Practicing saying stop. So this is one of my favorite techniques. We're in that ruminating, right? And you literally say out loud or to yourself. Out loud is best because we're in our head already. So when we start using our words outside of our brain, it helps us to really connect with what we're saying next. And so we want to say stop, like to the thoughts. So, oh my God, I can't believe that I'm going to mess this up again. And then I'm literally going to say stop. Like I hear that in my brain and I'm going to say stop, right? And then this stop, even that alone is going to change the flow of that ruminating, right? Because you've given yourself a conscious cue to stop being in that cycle of thinking, right? On top of putting the brakes on that, like those thought processes, you also have this opportunity then to consider how you can describe the circumstances in a more positive way. So what is happening in this moment? I drop a glass and I call myself stupid, right? I've shared this before, I have a tremor. And so it's really hard for me to hold on to things, and it's getting harder and harder as the years progress. And so I drop things a lot. And at the beginning, I was really mean to myself, and I would be like, you're so stupid. How can you be so clumsy? What is wrong with you? Those are all the things that are going around in my head, which then obviously permeate into other parts of my life, right? So every time I would say something like that, I would say stop. And then I wouldn't be like, I'm not clumsy. I have a tremor. It's okay. Let's clean it up. So just reframing it into the language that is actually helpful. I made a mistake. Dropping a glass is not like, oh, good for you, right? Like it's not pretend like everything is positive. It is a thing that it was an accident, and it's something that I have to take care of, right? And so what is it that I could be saying to myself that's helpful in that moment? Oh, you're not clumsy. It's just an accident. The broom is in the closet. Go and get it. Do you know, like we just have to figure out what it is we actually need to say to ourselves to help in that situation. And obviously that's a physical example. And then that's the same with when you're feeling really, I can't send this an email because I haven't, I probably made tons of mistakes here. I'm always making mistakes, but whatever, or I'm too afraid to send it because they're not even going to pay attention to me. And then you want to say stop, and then shift that to, this is an opportunity for me. I feel really scared right now, but I'm gonna take the chance and I'm gonna push send, boop, right? Ooh, that felt a little bit tense. talk to yourself about what you actually mean instead of being mean to yourself. And that leads into number 3. So number 3 is be your best friend, right? So we've talked about self-compassion. You know, I'm going to talk about self-compassion forever. It's definitely the thing that was hardest for me, to be kind to myself. But when we are kind and gentle, tender and caring to ourselves, the way we are to family and friends who we really care about, so much changes. Even when I say it, I can feel my shoulders relax, you know, like just this kindness that we deserve, that we give to so many people. It is so necessary. Self-compassion is so necessary in order to cultivate a more positive mindset. We can't actually stop being mean to ourselves unless we decide we deserve to not be mean to ourselves, right? We have to make that choice that we deserve the loving kindness we give to other people. We have to make that choice. And so when we treat ourselves at least as good as we treat our best friends, we're able to develop kindness, gentleness, forgiveness towards ourselves, right? This release from self-judgment and harsh criticism takes time. It takes time. This is all about patience, right? I am definitely a work in progress. You know, I've worked at this really tirelessly. I've worked at it with coaches. There are days when new things come into my life where it's really hard for me to not criticize myself or be harsh or feel like I have to judge myself. Of course, because we're human, right? But it's the stop piece, the reframing piece, and this loving kindness that I have cultivated that helps me to really replace those disapproving beliefs and thoughts with more compassionate ones. And that has strengthened my self-worth, my well-being. I've become more courageous, you know, all of those things. I'm definitely more optimistic because I have given myself this grace, right? To be as at least as good enough as good as the people that I love so much, right? At least I deserve as much as I give those people. And I've learned to even give myself a little bit more, because a little bit more helps me then give to them in such a big way, right? So compassion is massive. All right. Number 4, put effort into cultivating positive daily practices. So even though it feels natural to be negative when we've been in a negative cycle for a really long time, it actually takes some effort. We're actually working on being negative. I want you to see that you're putting energy into being negative, right? We're gonna take a minute for that because it's important, right? It feels like it's just your natural way, but you're actually putting energy into it. So what if we were to be intentional each day about putting new effort into being positive, right? What if we swapped it out, right? Creating this life we want and deserve is about shifting this energy that we've allowed to just be this natural way, but that we're putting effort into, because it takes, I mean, think of how much time you take just sitting around being negative to yourself, not being motivated, being in the place where you're in self-doubt. There's a lot of, we invest a lot into that, right? When we're in that spiral. And so it's this moment when we're committed to this. This is why the mantra is about commitment more than anything else, right? I am committed to shifting this. And so then I'm going to put equal energy or shift the energy into a different way of operating. I'm going to be intentional about this idea that I can actually practice positive, you know, I can use positive tools every day, and I can be in this daily practice of positivity, right? Of optimism, of gratitude, of reflection, right? So I have a wonderful morning practice that has really changed my life. I've talked about how it's layered on each other. So all the practices have kind of expanded because of the next practice that's put on top. So self-reflection is richer because I've also added meditation. And that's richer because I also move my body, which is richer because I also nourish my body. So all of the practices expand as we add them in, right? And so we want to create this really gorgeous practice for ourselves, whether that's all in the morning or throughout the day in little breaks or at bedtime, wherever it feels really good for you. This is where you want to start, right? And what I will say is it's not all like I have this beautiful 10-year practice that didn't all start, you know, like as a big, huge package, right? I didn't go into this doing, you know, all of these tools. What I did was picked one thing, and I was dedicated to doing that one thing as consistently as possible. And when I wasn't consistent, I got back on and started again. I reset it, right? This is where I think we fall short so often, is we hear about great ideas and then we do it for a week and we do it all in. So it's huge, it feels overwhelming, and then we stop because it's so different than what we were doing before. As a human, we like things to be pretty steady. We love stuff to be routine. We love things to feel comfortable. And so what if we decided, instead of having to do a marathon, we walked up a set of stairs, right? Every day, super easy. You probably do it already, but you could count it as movement. What if you started to have that intention that every time I go up these stairs, I'm gonna like really feel into this being my movement for today, or I'm gonna do an extra set of stairs. I have to go upstairs, but I'm gonna come down and go back up one time, right? Or I'm gonna walk around the block, instead of feeling like I'm committed to doing a marathon and, you know, like this is what we take on. These Herculean ideas, and then they feel really exciting because it's like, so we know it's good for us, right? I don't know if a marathon's good for you, but I'm not doing one, but but you know, we think like we could do this great exercise program, for example, and we take it on like as if, okay, I'm gonna do it and it's gonna be amazing and I'm gonna be the best at it and all of these things. Part of that is even in our negative thinking, because we believe that we have to do all or nothing. That's part of this negative thinking, right? That if I'm not doing it all, I'm not really doing it. But what if we were just doing this, right? So here's all, here's nothing. What if we just moved here? We're not doing nothing. We're doing something, and something is powerful. Something is so much different than nothing, right? So pick what you love. It's such a big part of our daily practice. What is the thing maybe you have done before and it like really filled you up, whether that's gratitude or reflection or movement or whatever kinds of practices feel really positive for you. And what if you did the smallest possible itsy bitsy step and then was consistent with that for a week? What would happen? What if you were consistent for that for 3 weeks? What's going to happen? Something. I know for sure. You know, I've watched it happen hundreds of times. Right? Love that, Cindy. Exactly. It's so important for us to really see that success is not about the all. It's about these baby steps that make us feel inspired to continue, that make us feel as though we're doing something for ourselves that feels good and nourishing, and it's for our well-being, right? And as you start to take these baby steps, right, it could be the same thing. So, you know, I got up, my very first practice was to wake up early and watch the sunrise. And I probably did that without doing very much else for, I don't know, like a month, where I just got up and was in awe of the sunrise and kind of dragging myself out of bed because it wasn't my normal thing to do. I was a snooze. I love snooze a long time ago. I don't even use snooze anymore. I almost never use an alarm anymore because I did that. And so it's just this opportunity to be in so much, like, be proud of yourself for just getting out of bed and watching the sunrise, right? Did I want like all of these other things to happen? Yeah, I wanted my whole life to change, right? I was in deep depression. I was, at a time in my life where, I didn't have any money. I had all my kids home. I was starting this little tiny business. I had all of these things. I was in ill health. I wanted everything to change. I did this little tiny thing, which led to a next little tiny thing, which led to a next little tiny thing. So starting with something very small at first helps us to see success and feel momentum. These baby steps are so much. Okay, they're so powerful. They're probably the most powerful thing you're going to do is get rid of that all or nothing, right? So powerful. Number 5. Surround yourself with positive people. This changed my life. Are the people in your life leading you in a positive direction? And if they're not, it's either time to move on from them or at least find new people to connect with. The difference in friendships for me now and 10 years ago, I can't even tell you what the difference is. It's so powerful to surround yourself with people who've got your back, who are your community, who believe in you, who cheerlead you, who support you. It's incredible, right? So really, really powerful to see where your friends are, know whether they're serving you or not, and then make decisions to at least evolve your friendship group, right? Who are you surrounding yourself with? So you can start this easily with editing who you're giving energy to on social media, right? Is your news feed and your network powerful, positive, and optimistic, or judgmental, negative, and critical? When you go on social media, does it feel uplifting? Are you listening and interacting with people who you might not be necessarily, intimate friends with, but we spend a lot of time with people online, right? So are these people feeding your soul or are they draining you, right? Are you going on there and being like annoyed by people all the time? You can unfollow people without hurting their feelings, right? You can absolutely unfriend people if you want to. It's amazing. Thanks, Rose, for sharing that. And it's just this unapologetic, who I surround myself with is my choice, as well as like my job. It is your job to make sure that you have good people in your life, right? You can't always get rid of people. That's not what I'm saying to do. I'm not saying, you don't have to be estranged from everyone in your family or, cut off people. You can do that if that's what you need. You have to decide what your boundaries are. But what's important is that even if you have to have this idea that some people get this much bandwidth of you, and then other people get a ton of bandwidth with you, right? And some people get this little skinny amount of bandwidth. You don't give everybody the same amount of your time. And so finding new friends, I know I hear this a lot. It's really hard for me to find friends. And let's just be real. Obviously these last few years have been really challenging because we haven't been able to be in person. But I just want you to look at yourself right now showing up in this community, right? If there's people who are writing things in the comments that you love, reach out to them. You can connect with them on Meetup, right? And say, I just I totally get you. I love what you said in Carla's call. You know, do you want to like do a virtual coffee? You know, you can do that. So you have to have a little courage to reach out with people who feel like right for you, right? But join groups and activities that focus on ideas and things you love and feel joyful and passionate about. So you guys are all here for a common reason, because you're ready to really be in this positive, uplifting way of operating, right? And you are all attracted to the same thing, right? You're here all for the same reason. So here's a great opportunity to connect with some people. Maybe there's already people here you are connected with. Start to nurture that relationship. And so this is how we start to build new friendships. I literally had to let go of all of the friendships that were in my sort of past life, almost all of them. I can think of maybe one or two out of a lot. I was like the schoolyard mom who knew every single person, you know, so I had tons of like these friendships that were not actually healthy for me necessarily, but they were a big part of my life. And as I've moved away from that, all of my friendships now are from places where I feel inspired, and I've met people who are equally inspired and who celebrate me and are like, don't think, you know, my dreams are crazy. They think they're amazing, and hold them up for me, right? And help me to grow in those. And I do the same for them. It's also this give and receive flow that I feel, you know, with all of them. But it was over time. I've nurtured those friendships. So it's really important. Okay. Number 6, talk with someone you trust. This is huge. This was huge for me. You know, when I was at my lowest and really in my deepest negative place, and obviously there's tons of negative beliefs and negative thoughts and negative emotions at that time, it was so essential for me to get professional help. Like I had a therapist, you can get a coach, because they can help you to uncover the origins of these long-standing negative patterns that you've been unconsciously holding on to for all of this time, right? So a huge part of my growth was understanding why I'm sticking in these negative stories. Why are they so present, right? Is so powerful for me to uncover where these origin stories were from, and how they were still serving me, even though they weren't serving me. You know what I mean? Like I was holding on to them so that I could be a victim, so that I could feel sorry for myself, so that I didn't have to try hard, so that I could hide in the kind of shadows of things, because that's where I felt safest. Our inner critic voices so often begin from external sources, but then we ingest them, right? And they become our internal voice to protect us from, you know, what feels like danger. And they keep ourselves safe and small and certain and stable, right? We have these voices, these inner critic voices, they're actually there to protect us, which feels like counterintuitive, but they actually are there so that we beat people to the punch, right? So that we know how to behave in situations that don't feel safe for us, right? If we diminish ourselves, people aren't going to get angry at us. If we always put ourselves down, we don't try things that people criticize us for, right? So we learn how to use negative thoughts to keep ourselves in this comfortable place. So when we talk about why these negative beliefs exist, it helps us to untangle from the thoughts and see that they're no longer valid, right? We need to untangle from this idea that if I diminish myself, I'll be safer, right? That might have been true when you had a, you know, narcissistic parent who, when you shone, they went into like a spiral, right? And so then you learn to diminish yourself because that's the grooming that you received, and then you ingested that grooming and started doing it for yourself. But now that parent isn't responsible for your safety anymore. You no longer have to like live in their house or be, controlled by the things that happen in your environment by their rules. And so you no longer need that pattern to continue of, for example, diminishing yourself, right? Does that all make sense? We can talk about that if people have questions about that after. So we want to just get the help we need. If it's really deep-seated, if it's really long-standing, sometimes it just feels so natural, we can't actually unwind from it. And so we sometimes having that professional help can help. It can help also to talk about it out loud, because when you start to say things like, I need to diminish myself because it keeps me safe, if you can say that sentence out loud to anybody, you're like, yeah, that sounds pretty messed. I don't actually need to diminish myself to stay safe, right? So even just talking to those really amazing people that are in your life that you're now surrounding yourself with, they can also help you, right? Because you're starting to say, when we speak it out loud, we can feel that it doesn't make sense anymore, right? And then the last thing I'm going to share before we open up for questions is buy into gratitude. Buy into it. I talk about it every day to anyone who will listen. Gratitude and negativity cannot coexist. Physiologically, psychologically, they do not exist at the same time. So whenever you practice gratitude, you are actively countering your negative thoughts. And it seems like such a little thing to be grateful for your cup of water and the tree outside, and that your notes are here, and that all the people are on the call. It feels like maybe even like it's doing nothing, right? But gratitude expands. The more you're grateful for, the more there is to be grateful for. So I literally can look around this room, think about from the time I woke up to right now, think about yesterday, think about what's going to come, and literally list off 100 things or 200 things I'm grateful for. I literally could do that right now. I'm not going to, but I could. And I started finding it challenging to think of 3 things consistently every single day, just like everybody else. I'm not more special than anyone, right? I'm special, as all of you are special, but I'm not more special. I don't have special skills to make me more grateful or more consistent or more committed. I just decided, right? And then I just kept deciding. When I faltered, I kept coming back to it. And then when I got off the horse another time, I dedicated to resetting, and I just kept going at it, right? So what's powerful about gratitude is that it's so simple. It's this simple daily practice that's going to help you develop positivity immediately. You're going to literally feel it as you practice it. It gives you this optimistic outlook, and that's going to have this ripple effect, right? If you're grateful for 3 statements for 2 weeks, I guarantee you that if you can do that for 2 or 3 weeks, writing 3 statements, I'm grateful for getting my nails done. I'm grateful for the crystals in front of me. I'm grateful that water runs. It doesn't even matter what you write. You can write the same things actually every single day. If you did that for 3 weeks, I promise you that on day 21, you're going to want to write 5 or 10 things, because you won't be able to contain your gratitude to just those 3 things. Because you'll have started to see the world from this place where, oh yeah, I'm also grateful for that. Oh yeah, I'm grateful for my phone. Oh, I'm grateful for, Penny being on the call today. I'm grateful. It just expands. It's impossible, right? And then when it stops being something, so you start getting into a groove, and then you're like, yeah, I know gratitude now. And then you kind of fall away from it, because our negative thoughts want to come back. They're our default, right? They want to come back in. And so then you fall away, and then you're like, oh, gratitude doesn't work, right? All you got to do is reset. I'm going to start again. I'm just getting right back on those 3 statements. And that's going to just come back in. And eventually you're in a place where you've done that a few times, where you've done it. It doesn't really feel like it works because you just stop doing it. And then you get back and start again, and you start again, and then you start, and then suddenly you're just in it. Then you're just in gratitude. Gratitude becomes a way of operating. And that's how so much of your negativity is going to be forced to push up into this new spiral operating from this way. So again, we want to start small, right? Small and consistent. Write a statement today. Write a statement. You can write it right now in the chat. Right? I am grateful for. Let's take a minute. Right? Everybody write. I am grateful for, and write one thing that you're grateful for. Right? Let's see it. Light it up. Let me see them all. Right? Doesn't have to be a big thing. Excellent. Thanks. I'm grateful for warm. Yeah, I can't read them as fast as they're coming. Oh, thank you for today. Perfect. I'm grateful to start my day. They're going so fast. It's amazing, right? First off, it's like filling me up. I'm sure you all have smiles on your face, right? It's incredible. It's so easy. That took less than 10 seconds for each of you to write those things, right? So 3 of them takes 30 seconds. Make that non-negotiable for yourself for the next 3 weeks and see what happens. And then write me, tell me what happens. I would love to know. Okay, we have about 10 or 15 minutes for questions. I feel like the chat lit up today. So if there's any other things that I should know in there, or I don't know, I can see it. Go ahead.
I just want to say how beautiful everyone is here, because there's an amazing chat about getting making friends and connecting, and I just love how everyone. So I think we'll have to figure out a way that we can either in the Facebook group or, Larissa mentioned the in-person meetings in Bloor West, and gosh, I miss Becca. So I think that's something we need to look into. We may need to organize something.
For sure. I'm absolutely ready to have a live event. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm so grateful for you. This is reading the chats is pretty amazing. I'm getting a bit emotional.
Oh, thank you.
So yeah, it's good.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you guys. And I this is it. This is why we are here together. I could do this call just as a recording and everyone could just watch it. That's, I could still share what I want to share. I could still feel filled up I would know I had this community who were responding to me. But what I love about the Monday Mantra call is that we have this opportunity to come together, that you are all present with one another and with me. And it's this gift that we give each other. We are that beginning of surrounding ourselves with the greatest people, right? You're all here with this common, beautiful goal to feel and add in these daily practices that are going to uplift you, that elevate you, that make you feel more and more loving towards yourself, right? All of you are there doing that. And so that feels so beautiful. So it's a great opportunity to connect, and we will figure that out, definitely. Jen, go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that the past few days I've been feeling grateful for the pandemic, actually, because now that things are starting to open up, I can just appreciate things more that I didn't have access to during the pandemic. And that's been quite nice to have that time to sort of step back and look at things with brand new eyes.
Beautiful. I love that. I think when we practice gratitude, the things that we've taken for granted, we start to see as these beautiful gifts. And so I think that's exactly what you're talking about. We lived prior to the pandemic in this unconscious way of just being busy and getting ourselves, we were so in the just groove of working and whatever that we didn't really notice our lives. And the pandemic has given everybody this time to pause on some level and all of that, you know, and it's obviously affected people in very different ways. So it's not, I don't want to just, you know, big brush it, but it has given us an opportunity to really look within, because we've had time. Obviously, so many of us have been locked down at different times. And so there has been this chance to just be still and see what it is that is in our life, and then be grateful for what is coming back, right? I love that. We went, honestly, like on Saturday, Rob and I went dancing for the first time in, I love dancing, as you all know, and I haven't been out dancing, and I love live music. And there was this great band doing like old Motown covers and some new stuff, and they're in a local bar that we went to every weekend to dance to live music. And it was so, I had a smile, like I can't tell you how much I smiled. Like it was just the best ever. I'm pretty rusty, you know, but I didn't care. Like everybody, I was like having so much fun with other people who were having so much fun dancing. We were all so happy to just be in that wonderful, yeah, joyful space again. So I totally understand what you're saying, Jen. Thank you. Anyone else? Questions or comments about committing to releasing from negative thoughts about yourself? Thanks. Go ahead, Lene.
Good morning. Yeah,
Hi.
I wanted to just highlight something. Last week, when you were talking about loving ourselves more and giving more love to ourselves, right? I'm still there. I'm just saying, because for you to say now release negative thoughts, well, that's saying in order to make space for love, you have to let go of these negative thoughts. Now, my mother was a bully, so I learned how to be a bully to myself with my thoughts. And so now I'm understanding that a lot better with what you're talking about. And so, like I said, I'm still on last week's mantra,
Right.
but this is like a piece to the puzzle that says you can't have both. You can't have love and this negative thoughts all the time. You got to let go of the negative so that the love has room to come in. So that's what I'm getting just from, you know, listening to what you're saying. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you. That's beautifully said. I feel like I'm just gonna mic drop that. Like that was gorgeous. That's literally it. That's literally it. Thank you, Lene. It's beautiful how you describe that for yourself and for all of us on this journey. I appreciate that. Does anyone else? Thank you. I honestly, I don't want to say anything because it was just beautiful. Thank you. And so true. Anyone else? Thank you. Go ahead, Rose.
Hi, thank you so much for this. I feel so uplifted.
Go ahead.
I wanted to ask you, like, you said you started off small, like, for example, you started with like seeing the sunrise every morning. And then how do you build momentum, like, and build on that? Like,
Yeah.
starting off with one habit and then accumulating to another habit.
So great. Such a great question. And so it's about your own pace. So really understanding your own pace and the difference between like procrastination and setting a pace that feels like momentum. So momentum is not necessarily giant, right? It can just be little, like you're starting to feel like things are edging forward. So for example, when if you decide to get up early every morning, like the same as I did, the first couple of weeks, you're going to be dragging your butt out of bed. It's going to be like, okay, gotta watch that dang sunrise one more time, right? It's not joyful. It's not like you're like moved to tears the first day. It's literally like, I cannot believe I'm doing this. Why am I doing this? This is craziness. And because for me, it was at least an hour earlier. And I just want to sleep. Oh, I'm going to start tomorrow. Like all of these things come into your head. And so it's about when there's ease in that first Like when it became easy for me to get out of bed, you know, I started jumping out of bed and be like, oh, I don't want to miss it. Let's get there early. Oh, I want to have my tea with the sunrise, right? And then suddenly you're just, you know what practices feel good. You're here, so you're like hearing different ideas. You know, it might be that you want to journal about what you're seeing or feeling. Or you decide, you know, you have a deck of cards that are like intention cards or, you know, oracle cards or whatever. So you're going to, at the sunrise, choose a card, or you're going to lay out crystals, or you're going to, you know, drink water, warm water with lemon right after the sunrise. You're just going to pick something next because it's feeling good, right? There's going to be these residual sort of indirect effects that are going to happen because you've gotten up. So for me, I realized that I had quiet time because my kids were all still sleeping. Like if I got up with the sunrise, it meant that I got time for myself, right? And so what do I want to do with that time for myself? So I started just putting in place these practices that I share with you guys, that I learned from other people, you know, that are these ways of kind of taking care of yourself that you weren't doing before. So it's just about adding in the next thing, right? Does that help?
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah, perfect. Phyllis, go ahead. Welcome.
Hi, good
Hi.
morning, everyone.
Morning.
Yeah, so I was on a Zoom and one of the girls said that she does that song, Shake It Off.
Yeah, good
She
one.
dances too. So anytime she thinks of something negative, she just stands there and does the dance and
Yeah.
gets her whole
Shake it
body
off.
to shake.
Yeah, shaking is an amazing way to, like, we can all do that right now. Just if you just do that, right? Like if you shake, 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 right? That's gonna, it really just changes our energy right away. So I love that. Amazing. Thanks for that tip. Yeah. So along with stop, you could shake it off, right? So you're in the middle of that negative rumination. You're like, no, and then shake, right? And if you shake and wiggle and whatever, of course you can feel your blood flowing. You can feel, it makes you laugh. All sorts of things happen. Lene, did you have something else to add? No, your hand's still, okay. Linkta, how are ya? Great to see you.
Awesome, as usual.
Yay.
Thank you so much. Another lesson that I resonate with every single thing you say here. And I actually don't even think about those negative questions anymore. That's not even in my realm. I do have one other person I need to take off of my peer group list. And I was thinking this morning, I'm going to write their name down on a piece of paper and shred it. That's what I'm doing. It's out of here.
Perfect. Yeah.
But
yeah, go ahead.
you know, since meeting you and, you know, I'm thinking about stuff for myself, I have a very clear goal. And my goal that I've had it before, but I just really wrote it down probably a month ago. My goal is to live a joy-filled life while sharing and learning life lessons with people whose energy I resonate with. And yesterday, I want to say I had a phenomenal day. It started off my morning on a drive to Hamilton, and I spoke to a beautiful person, and I just listened to her, and I loved that. And she started off my day. So thank you. Then I went to an event where they talked about dreams or goals. It was incredible, the effort this person put into doing this. And I met some different people, and one person sitting beside me said, "Can I share my goals with you?" Yeah, absolutely. And then somebody had to leave early. So I said to them, "Oh, you know, can you just share something?" It turns out I resonate with this person's energy so much. And I've been putting that out there since January, because I've been writing down in my journal that I want to meet people with the same kind of mindset. And like, it was right there. And had I not asked those extra questions, I would have never even known that. And then it ended having a coffee with somebody who I met just probably 8 weeks ago. And by talking to her, her mindset has changed so much. And I so appreciate the fact that she lets me share some wisdom with her. I get to learn from her, and it was amazing. So that was my day yesterday. And then my husband, who is not like me, he's more of a loner, which is fine. He was putzing in the garden the whole day, dirty black hands, but yeah, that's great. And he allows me to go out and do this because we'll find other people that'll be in my peer group. And then this morning, I love playing games. So somebody had written in a Facebook group that they want to get together with a games night.
You're in.
I'm there.
Excellent.
Anyways, thank you so much.
Thank
As
you.
always, I'm grateful for you. Mwah.
Thank you. Thank you. And so what I love about what Linked is sharing, she's reminding us you're going to attract people no matter what. So you're going to attract people wherever your mindset is. So all of you who are feeling like your friend group is in a negative place and it doesn't feel good and you're still in this negative space, the more you practice this positivity. When I met Linkta, we literally, that's what we talked about, was these negative people in her life. And so you literally start to shed them and attract completely different people because you're completely different. You're putting out an energy that's completely different. It's one of the ways you can know that you're on the right path is who you're attracting, because you're reflecting back. They are reflecting back to you how you're showing up in the world, right? So the more and more you start to see new people in your life, the more you can be like, yeah, I'm on the right track, right? It's like a way for you to really feel that in your soul. So I love that as our last little tidbit of like how you can tell is when you make a new friend and they're like actually like the person you've been like, I wish I had had this friend all my life. That's a really good indication that you're on the right track. Okay, so amazing. Thank you guys so much. We will be here again next Monday. It's wonderful to have you all here. I hope that I see you again, and I wish you a great start to your week. Take good care of yourselves, and we'll see you soon. Bye.